G'day guys, Make with the Outer Circle. And today I want to look around at some of the Nurgle stuff that's coming out. I bet there's some real great stuff out there. Let's have a look. Well, this is the Minotaur tank. I reckon they could do something interesting with this, some sort of bombard tank that uses these interesting curves and shapes, and the whole fact that it's a rearward firing tank that drives in reverse and built on the Melkador chassis, so it's very much a Heresy era bit of equipment. I wonder if they could make a tank which has sort of those aspects, but maybe for Nurgle. No, you've... Warning to anyone who wants to continue watching the video. I think I just got triggered. The fuck is this? The fuck is this? Alright, full disclosure. This wound its way into my inbox last night. It's the second picture that wound its way into my inbox about this tank. The first one is a lot blurrier and it's just a screen cap from White Dwarf. Yeah. This thing here. It's wider than a rhino, about as long, and it's taller than a rhino. What the fuck is this piece of shit? No, seriously. It is not an STC. And it's not a cool rework of an old epic design. Like, if it was a rework of an epic design, it'd probably look a lot more like a Skaven Screaming Bell meets a trebuchet. Because that's the sort of weird shit Nurgle had in epic. No. This is entirely new. See, when Games Workshop, especially Forge World, normally touch old kits and old artwork, you get something fantastic out of it. When Games Workshop looked at bringing back knights, we got the Paladin and the Errant, and they were pretty cool. And then Forge World one-upped them and brought out like the Acheron, the Castigator, the Lancer, all those knights. It was like, oh, fuck yeah. These look really cool, and they work. They fit the current design aesthetic of 40k. And then, like, with the Mechanicum, they went back into all those old battle robots from Rogue Trader. Some of them looked terrible. And Forge World actually made them really cool. The Thorax, the Castellax, the Domitar, they all look fantastic. They did it again with Dreadnoughts, like the Derideo, the Contemptor. They took old design philosophies, reworked them, and you got something fantastic out of it. And Games Workshop brought us this. The fuck is this? This is derp. This is derp design at its finest. Okay, hear me out. What makes this derp? Well, I'll do the practicalities of it and why this thing isn't practical first. And yeah, okay, it's science fantasy. It's got nothing to do with fact or reality. It's fucking demons in space, right? It doesn't have to make actual sense. And yeah, you can come up with any fucking fluff to justify it. But let's think this through as a concept. Why would you have a tank which has a very high angle armament? This thing's designed to fire at high elevations. It's got, no azimuth to it at all. This thing's just designed to... it's got very high azimuth to it, no traverse. This thing's just designed to drop shells at a distance like a mortar or a bombard. The bombard happens to be an existing model. Basilisks, Medusas, this thing here, the Minotaur, which has 2 basilisk guns. These things already exist. But no, we wouldn't want to translate an already fantastic Forge World kit into plastic and maybe sell a fuckload of them. No. Instead, what we're going to do is come up with something brand new. And it's weird to describe how this thing looks, because the way that it's sunken in patches along the hull, it's almost like something out of Vampire Counts, like that bat's wings feel. But these aren't bat's wings. This is supposed to be some kind of like decaying flesh over ribs, maybe? Because it kind of reminds me of like model aeroplanes. When you build a model aeroplane and you build a framework and you cover it in canvas and then you dope it or glue the canvas, it shrinks and binds tight to the model. And what you get is this kind of look here, with it pulled tight across the support ribs. So I think that's kind of the look they were going for. So you've got this high angle element, this high elevation weapon. You've got spikes on top that serve no purpose, but that's fine. That's Chaos. Chaos has had spikes that serve no purpose for like 30 years. I can live with that. Why has it got so many guns? And these are close-in weapon systems. Like, these are that pus cannon thing, like the flamer, basically. So, it's an assault tank? How do you see out of this thing? There's no vision slit or anything. This is a gun, I'm 90% sure. It's Nurgle, though. You see, you wouldn't know it was Nurgle if it wasn't 3 of the gun. You see, in Games Workshop's opinion, or at least their sculptors, you won't know that something belongs to a certain faction unless they dial up the attributes of that faction to 11. So they're like, oh, we can put a Nurgle symbol on the front, but we can't just be a Nurgle symbol. It's got to be a Nurgle symbol with 3 skulls inside it. So it's extra Nurgly. But wait, we can make it even more Nurgly if we make one of those skulls a Plaguebearer skull. Oh, wait, even better. We make it extra Nurgly by giving it only 1 good horn on the skull. Hey. Yeah, that's fucking retarded. You see, you have all these fantastic kits from Forge World that make so much sense. Like the Minotaur. And you could have taken these kits, especially old Heresy era tanks, that the Imperium doesn't have many of anymore, or at least, on the books many of. Could have brought them across, made them into something great. Skimmers, land speeders, that kind of thing. Again, great thing for Chaos to have, because, hey, Chaos, they have technology left over from the Great Crusade. And even if they don't understand how GravTech works, I'm sure that they could make some kind of demon-powered hovering grav tank. Could have warp flame coming out the bottom of it that propels it along instead of traditional grav technology. And that would be cool. That would be flavour. This is not. This is dumb. This is what happens when a pretentious sculptor sits there and goes, I want to bring my own mark to the Plague Bearers and the Death Guard. Yes, I don't think Nurgle's been done right over the years, and I think that just other people are just not as good a sculptor as I am, and I can bring my own unique vision to this. And it's just fucking retarded, right? And believe me, there are some very pretentious people working in the modelling industry. How do I know this? Because I talk to a lot of people who work in that industry, and you wouldn't believe how much they talk about each other. Anyway, moving on from that fucking monstrosity. You can get these pictures anywhere. This particular one came from Bell of Lost Souls. This is unreleased as of yet Nurgle stuff. Currently, all the Nurgle models that have been released are snap fit. They're not entirely snap fit. They're this new program Games Workshop likes to call easy to build. Because rather than the traditional cut all the individual pieces up, put them all together, these are broken down to like 3 or 4 parts only. So the models are really quick to put together, but they're only in one pose. Now this seems to be something they've really pushed, and with the look of these guys, it looks like they're sort of bringing that point across again. These are going to be much like the Putrid Blight Kings in Fantasy, where you'll have like 3 or 4 arms options, all for the same torso. Which is interesting to know. Now, a lot of pictures make it into my inbox. I will not share all of them to my viewers, because a lot of them, I'm pretty sure, there are very few people who could actually take the pictures at the time and give them to me. And because of that, if I show those pictures to you, it narrows down Games Workshop's list of suspects of who's leaking information. So rather than show those pictures, I'll show the closest thing I can to it, and then we'll talk about it. In this case, this guy's holding up a brass set of flies, and it's got like keys and that kind of stuff on the end of it. Again, this is stuff that we haven't seen yet fully, but you can catch it all in Games Workshop's Nurgle preview video. So this is all stuff we know is coming. The Nurgle Terminators. Now these guys are interesting. I want to point out first, I find it strange how the Nurgle theme has really pushed the sort of the 3 dots, the 3 skulls, the 3 death heads of the Nurgle glyph. They're all over these models. Like, the same way that the Imperium puts the Aquila and skulls on everything, well, they've done the same thing with Nurgle and these guys. The Nurgle 3 symbol is on everything. It is everywhere. You'll generally find like 3 to 4 to 5, and in some cases there are actually 7 of the same thing on a model, especially on the characters in the Dark Millennium box set. Now, there's Dark Millennium, Dark Imperium. I've already forgotten. The important thing to note with these Terminators is they're actually a hodgepodge of different parts, which is fine. If anyone should be salvaging bits of armor from different marks and putting it together, it's chaos. If anyone should be taking that to the extreme, it's either Nurgle and the Death Guard or the Iron Warriors, because they're the sort of people who will cobble things together to make something functional. In the case of the Death Guard, we have Cataphractii shoulder pads, Cataphractii style torso, Indomitus shoulder pad here. They've blended different elements together. There's also a massive push for fantasy elements, such as chainmail, tabards, robes, cloaks, that kind of thing. There are hooded models available. It's interesting to note, however, that they've gone for these pus cannon type things instead of the Grave Warden grenade launchers from 30k, and they've also stayed away from the sides, or the Man Reapers that are used in 30k. So the Nurgle push, as opposed to the Death Guard push, so these are very much god-specific models, as opposed to representing the Legion, in my opinion. Which, again, I think is strange. I'd have thought they wanted to, blend the two more wholesomely together. I don't know how I can describe it, but it seems like they've really tried to move away from their origins as the Death Guard Legion and really try to push their own style into them. Which is fine. I guess there's other ways they can do it, but that's fine. Lastly, 2 images left. This one and one more. This is Mortarian's Scythe. Still find it strange how now it's cracked and broken and fleshy and has a spine and yet has this perfectly functional power cable. I don't know why I threw that in there. It's just something that stood out to me. It's also odd how it has this big hook coming off the back of it. It's like a miniature scythe, but thicker and heavier duty on the other side. Don't know why. Also don't know why the scythe has these 3 eyes in the... What do you call that? Sensor? Plague sensor, maybe? Okay. So, for this last picture. This is one that everyone has seen before. I'm sure of it. But I'm going to put it up anyway. Yes, I have better quality pictures than this. No, I'm not sharing them. Don't ask for me to share them. I will talk about what I've seen up close and refer to the pictures that are small and blurry to fill you in more. This is Mortarion. A Marine next to him is about the same size as one of the number digits here. So, about this tall. About as tall as the mouse pointer tip next to the model. He actually is flying. His cloak is billowing, lifting him up off the ground, and that's his body there in picture number 2, and his cloak is actually holding him up. It looks like there's lots of bits of him and that he's all fat. He's not actually fat at all. It's just the cloaks are billowing off him and they kind of lend that appearance to him. He is not great unclean levels of fat. Also, the scythe does look a bit ridiculous. It is just absolutely massive headed and this tiny little shaft. It's something I've complained about for a few weeks now, and I did want to put some pictures up so you can see it side by side and see that. Another thing I've mentioned before is he is meant to have like fly's wings, but to me he just looks like a butterfly or a moth that's just hatched out of its cocoon, and it's drying its wings for the first time before it flies off. Maybe to other people it looks different, but it very much does so to me. Colours wise, he is very much Death Guard colours. There's a lot of greens and putrid colours in there. There's also a lot of off-whites, especially in the wings, that kind of part of his body. And his armour doesn't really look anything like his 30k armour. So, take that how you will, I guess. And it's not like his armour is all plague corrupted. It's not really plague corrupted. It looks more like the plague marines around him. It does look more like standard Mark III, whereas in 30k, Mortarion's armour it's like ribbed all the way around. everyone knows what 30k Mortarion looks like. Just look at his armor. This looks different. 30k Mortarion has big squared off knee pads and chainmail, and 40k Mortarion has like rounded off knee pads and looks like he's wearing knight's armor from the Middle Ages. I guess that's what I'm getting at. Anyway, this is my Nurgle model release roundup. Key point to take away from this is that this tank is fucking terrible, and the sculptor did a bad job and should feel bad, and this thing makes no sense. And it pisses me off only because there's so many good vehicles they could have based it on, and instead they came up with something new, and it's not good new, it's bad new. Call me a whinger, I don't care. Back with the outer circle, and I'll see you all next time.